Good evening. Welcome to this candidates forum for the school board for the Pocantico Hills School District. My name is Susan Maggiato and I'm president of the League of Women Voters of the Rivertowns. We're very pleased to be partnering tonight with the Pocantico PTA to present this. Our time tonight is Alice McNamara. Our moderator is Michelle Shivers. In keeping with league policy, she is not a resident of this district. Michelle lives in Portchester and is a board member of the Rybrook and Portchester League. She is an educator and community leader in Westchester, and we're very pleased to have her with us tonight. A word about the League of Women Voters. I'm sure you know the League is a voter service organization, and indeed we are. We've been doing this since 1920. It's been our mission since 1920 after women got the right to vote. But we're also an advocacy group. We empower voters and defend democracy through advocacy, education, and litigation at the local, state, and national level. How do we arrive at our positions? By member study and consensus. So our positions represent the views of our members. So in that sense, the league is political, but we are staunchly nonpartisan. That means that as a league, we never support or oppose candidates or political parties. And membership in the league is open to anyone 16 years of age or older. A word about a recording policy that all the candidates have agreed to. Only the entities authorized by the league may record or live stream this forum. Only licensed media, which includes TV, radio, and newspapers, are entitled by FCC regulations to air portions of the recording. Anyone else who broadcasts or live streams must do so in its entirety. This is to ensure that the content of the forum will not be manipulated in any way to create false or misleading impressions of any candidate.
I think that your mic is not on, but I think
is it red or green?
It's not either.
Yeah. Oh, actually was.
Should I try this one? Oh, there we go.
people at home are saying they can hear you, so maybe it's fine.
Okay, great.
Okay.
We have to make sure
There you
that
go.
It should be.
That's right.
perfect. Thank you so much. All right. So anyway, the reason we always broadcast our forums in its entirety is to make sure that no sections of it are used to create false or misleading impressions of any candidate. So everyone will see the entire forum. Questions were submitted. Some were submitted in advance, some here tonight. So we have quite a lot of questions. We hope we get through them in this hour and a half. The forum will be recorded. Vicky's recording it now, and it'll be available on our YouTube channel, LWV Rivertowns, or the link will be on the PTA's website as well. And with that, I will turn the forum over to our moderator, Ms. Shivers.
Thank you, Susan, and thank you for having me. It is a pleasure to be here this evening. And as already stated, I am Michelle Shivers, and I will be your moderator. Good evening, and welcome to tonight's Meet the Candidates Forum. Tonight's forum is an evening for you to become more familiar with the candidates running for the school board. In alphabetical order by last name, your candidates are Lauren Alexander, who could not be with us this evening, Scott Graves, Joe McGrath, Charlie Minton, and Elena Riley. Yes? Okay. Before we get started, I would like to go over a few ground rules. The order of opening statements have been determined by lot and were drawn before the meeting. The order of closing statements will be in the reverse order of the opening statements. The order in which the candidates respond to further questions will be rotated by the moderator to assure fairness. Throughout the forum, no comments of a personal or abusive nature will be permitted. The moderator has the authority to pause the proceedings to enforce the ground rules and format. Each candidate has 90 seconds for their opening statement. We will then move to questions submitted in advance or by the Pocantico Hills PTA or from you guys this evening. Candidates will have 90 seconds to answer these questions. At the conclusion of the question period, each candidate will give a closing statement, a maximum of 90 seconds in the reverse order. The timekeeper will indicate when 30 seconds, may you show them, remain in the allowed speaking time and stop when the time is up. Please be respectful and show civility. Each candidate is entitled to 2 30-second rebuttals during the question portion by raising their hand and the conclusion of the response. We remind you that no campaign materials of any kind may be distributed in this room. We ask that the audience refrain from reacting to a candidate's response and request that you hold your applause until the conclusion of the forum. Why are we here? We are here this evening to hear the candidates' views about issues concerning the Pocantico.
Pocantico.
Thank you. Please
Yeah,
forgive
good.
me. Pocantico Hill, and I practice. Pocantico Hill School District. And it is important that we give each candidate the opportunity to make the best use of time allotted for this program. Let's begin with opening statements. Our first speaker, Mr. Minton.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm a 34-year resident of Pocantico Hills. I raised 3 children here. I've served a total of 16 years on the school board, 6 years in the early 2000s when my children were students in this building, and then the past 10 years. I serve on the board because I believe that education is the most important thing we can give our children. I believe that we should provide an education in Pocantico Hills that enables every child to achieve their potential. When I look back at what the school has achieved over the past 6 years with Rich Calkins as superintendent and with continuity on the Board of Education, I am incredibly proud. Things like increased focus on curriculum and instruction by administration and teachers, increased focus on social emotional learning and positive school culture, increased investment in professional development, increased investment in student support services, increased investment in our buildings and grounds, the addition of JPK, which has been an outstanding success, the addition of a school resource officer, just to name a few. We have achieved this all while delivering near zero budget increases during a time when inflation was near 3.5% annually. I look forward to continuing to serve the district and hope you'll support me.
Thank you. Mr. Graves.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Scott Graves, and I'm a proud member of this community. I have 3 daughters who have been educated in this building, and Phoebe is currently a 4th grader with Miss Doan. My wife, Allison, is the family and consumer science teacher here at Pocantico. The school isn't just part of our life, it's part of who we are. It's home. I want to thank the current board, Charlie, Joe, and everyone else for their dedication to excellence. And I'm especially grateful to Joe and Charlie for their leadership and service. And I also want to recognize Elena and Lauren. To be on this journey with you is incredible. And I also want to, even though she's not running at this time, I want to acknowledge Joanna Cahill, whose insight, vision, and dedication makes her an incredible asset to this community. And you will not, you will be hearing a lot from her in the future. So thank you to her. Look, my commitment to you as running for the board is to first listen, to advocate strongly, and to ensure consistent follow through with transparency and heart. As a board member, my focus will be on supporting our superintendent and making sure to continue to do the right things, staying fiscally smart and always moving forward. At Pocantico, we have big goals for every student. We believe in striving for excellence, and we're here to support our kids every step of the way. That means backing our dedicated teachers and making sure they have everything they need to help every student become the best version of themselves.
Thank you. Ms. Riley.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Elena Riley, and though some of you may remember me as Elena Tarantola, as I am a proud Pocantico alum. My husband, Chris, and I share 3 daughters that are current students at Pocantico. Olivia is currently enjoying the 8th grade trip to Washington, D.C. and plays on the modified lacrosse team merged with Briarcliff. Our middle daughter, Maddie, is in the 4th grade and eagerly participates in every club and ELO that's available. Charlotte, now in kindergarten, was part of the inaugural JPK class, which has proven to be a fantastic foundation for her success. I would like to acknowledge the strong initiatives set forth by the current board administration, faculty, and staff, efforts such as those I just mentioned, along with the development of the CAP program and capital improvement projects. However, it's time to shift our focus from external programs and physical infrastructure to the daily experiences within our school. There are so many wonderful things that happen under this roof every day. Though during my time on the PTA board, I've had many conversations with families that are eager for more personalized classroom time, additional support around student behavior and accountability, greater focus on fundamental study skills, and a curriculum that offers the same rigor and experiences provided by other area schools for whatever school they choose once they graduate from Pocantico. Times change, needs change. The best way to ensure long-term success for our students is not to remain on a path that may have been suitable in the past, but to pause, reevaluate, and adapt to provide our teachers all the tools and support they need for ongoing progress.
Thank you. Now we will begin the question portion.
Unless you'd like me to say a couple things. It's okay.
I apologize.
It's all fine. It's all fine.
Mr. McGrath.
Thank you so much.
Excuse me.
Absolutely. So my name is Joe McGrath. I moved to Pocantico roughly a decade ago, and we came to this community and realized how amazing it is, but also that it needed some work. In that time, in the 6 years that I've been serving on the board, we've made huge improvements in terms of security, in terms of academics, in terms of culture, in terms of just the pre-K program, the tennis courts, fixing tennis courts that had lay in disrepair for 20 years or more. Right? We went back and said, as a board, how can we revitalize this community? And we've done just that. If you look at our academics, we have seen the strongest academic growth I've ever seen in Pocantico, where we rival and in some cases beat all of our feeding schools. We have higher test scores in certain grades than some of our founding schools. That's never happened, to my knowledge, in the history of Pocantico. That did not happen by accident. That's a huge piece of the culture, which starts with the board and the superintendent and moves into the classroom. This work is important to me, who has dedicated his life to helping children. I've spent the last 30 years helping students. I know the business of education. I have over 20 years of administrative experience, including that as an interim superintendent. So I know how this works, and I know how I can support the district. My goal is simple: keep it moving. We still have work to do because it's a wonderful place and it deserves it. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we will do the questions. I will be starting with Mr. Graves.
Yeah.
What do you feel Pocantico Hills does well in terms of communicating with parents, and what needs improvement, in your opinion, in this realm?
Thank you for the question. I actually think our school communicates quite well. We have, we receive emails, we have newsletters, we get things in the mail. I think we're good communicators. What I want to bring to the equation is I actually want to have a monthly or bi-monthly coffee with parents. It doesn't have to be here. It can be at a coffee shop in the town, but I want to be able to hold that forum on a monthly basis. Let's call it in the morning, maybe sometime before school, and listen to what is being talked about, and bring that to the board and be a voice for people. I really believe when you can sit down with somebody and hear what they have concerns with or what they want to say. So I can tell you right now, as a board member, I will hold a monthly or bi-monthly coffee that is at a schedule where someone can meet, and I will hear them out and then go from there with their concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Riley.
Thank you. Could you just repeat the question?
Yes. I believe you said that POCO, I can use instead of
You can go with Poco.
I can go POCO? Thank you. I apologize. What do you feel POCO does well in terms of communicating with parents, and what needs improvement, in your opinion, in this realm?
So I would say Pocantico the new Friday flyer, I recently knew, I find is helpful, provides information around many areas. I'm excited that it collates information from many sectors. I do think there could be an opportunity to have the board infuse a section in there as well, potentially, on an ongoing basis, weekly, monthly, whatever it would be. That would be a great improvement. I also found that the digital calendar, including the district portions that have been added recently, were a really big help. I think we need more around start and end dates of classes and things like that. But really, I've heard a lot around lack of responses to emails in general. So personally, I would find a wonderful policy change, whereas a 24 to 48 hour response time for teachers, staff, so on and so forth, to get back to parents or families so that people can be informed, and also sharing what's going on with how tests are going. I do find, for example, having only 5 minutes with 2 teachers or so, maybe it's 10 minutes, but essentially 5 minutes for parent-teacher conferences when you're in the middle school level, 10 minutes with 2 teachers when you're trying to talk to 4, it's just not efficient. So that is not a strong communication point. I think that's something we can improve. And I'm sure there are more things. Communication is a strong point of mine, and I would be happy to explore further.
Thank you. Mr. McGrath.
Thank you. So Pocantico does have that weekly newsletter, which I think is fantastic. Certainly, you can always say, what else can we do? And one of the things very strongly that I think we can absolutely improve upon is our non-English speakers. So right now, all of our communications go out in English, which means that we have an artificial barrier. If you don't speak English and you have a child in our school, you are not necessarily understanding our communication. So one of the things that's been proposed by this board, and I believe it's moving forward, is a way to move our communication so that if you speak Spanish, you get the communication in Spanish. If you speak French, you get it in French. And whatever language you speak, that's what the communication is coming in. In other words, we want to reach out to every single piece, every single parent and every single community member. So the other piece that Pocantico, I think, can do better and also has plans to do better on is to create an ability for people that may have had children that graduated Pocantico that are still interested in knowing what's happening to be able to sign up and get sort of quarterly newsletters. Here's what's going on. And our CAP program, which is incredibly popular, I think we can do a better job of outreaching and finding more people to say, hey, you may not have children in the district, but we want you to know we've got this thing happening. And it's an incredible program run by an incredible person. I'm not gonna embarrass Scott by mentioning his wife, but right. But she does a fantastic job with it. And I think we can do a better job of getting people that may not have children in Pocantico anymore to know about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Minton.
Thank you. Well, one of the things that's been a goal for the board for as long as I've been here is communication, and it is very important. And yes, as other people have said, we can always do better, but I think we do a very good job of getting information out. And also the board and administration are incredibly receptive to communication. So if someone wants to speak with the principal, they can. They want to speak with Rich Calkins, the superintendent, he's always available. So that's always been important. I think Scott mentioned something which is really important, which is that this idea of a coffee. We used to run open forums where there were 2 board members and the administration, and it couldn't be more than 2 because we can't have a quorum. But we would have 2 board members and we would sit in a circle in the library, and we would do those periodically. And I think it's a great idea, either coffee or something like that. The other thing is what sometimes is forgotten is we make information available, but if people aren't seeking it, we probably have to do a better job of getting it to them. So, and that's always a difficult task, but to make sure the community is informed is also about making sure that we're getting it to people, even if they're not looking for it. And Joe, you mentioned a very good point, which is there are a lot of people who don't have children in the district anymore, and they're not always getting the communication. So we should probably work on that.
Thank you. Pocantico's natural setting is such an asset. How can the school better leverage it to enhance outdoor learning in ways that strengthen both the curriculum and the students? We will be starting with Ms. Riley.
We do have a fantastic area. We are blessed, and I know for a very long time we had programs pre-COVID where we were able to not only tap into the immediate area, but extending, and I know that Ms. Brinley is working on extending that relationship again. I'm eager to see that happen for our children for multiple facets, but I think, incorporating required recess time. Today, some children are allowed to opt out of going outside. And just in that, picking to stay in the classroom as opposed to going out and actually leveraging what we have already accessible seems like a policy that we could really improve on, or at least have communication with the family and let them choose. I think we can also incorporate things like extending our periods and maybe having a picnic lunch somewhere and bringing our lunches with us to go on the trails. We can also explore opportunities with local horse trails, horse stables where I know we have community members. Tap into our community members, understand where we'd be able to access and encourage our children to go while they're here and also when they're with their families on an ongoing basis.
Thank you. Mr. McGrath.
Thank you. So one of the things about Pocantico that is absolutely just embedded in the mosaic that is Pocantico is its nature of conservation, that we have respect for the environment and our students get to go outside. There's outdoor classroom spaces. We've expanded some of those spaces already. We put on solar panels, and not only do we put on solar panels, but we also created a display so students can actively see, hey, it's cloudy out. What's the energy consumption? Oh, it's raining out. Oh, we're getting less. Oh, we put the air conditioning on because it's hot. Wait a minute, we're using a lot of energy. In other words, we're using authentic learning and their natural curiosity and what's happening in the environment so they can actually see in real time what's going on, because we want them to be responsible and we want them to understand that everything that they do has a cause and effect and that the environment is very important. So getting them out there, getting them to do some of the gardening that they do, they come back, they have such pride in their work that they do. And then just understanding that how it's all connected and how we are all connected.
Thank you. Mr. Minton, same
Thank you.
question.
So we are very lucky to be where we are. We have the stone barn here. Even Regeneron is a great resource for science projects. And we probably can do a lot more. I think we should really encourage the teachers to think about how they can best integrate that into their classroom. And then I know that Rich and the board are completely open to that. So I think if the teachers think about how it integrates with a particular part of the curriculum, we can make it happen.
Thank you so much. Mr. Graves.
Great. Well, I mean, this is probably my favorite question. Using your hands is how we need to educate our children. We live in a culture now where downtime means grab your device. No, absolutely not. We have a community garden here. There should be classrooms. I mean, they do have classroom in that garden, but we need to be doing more of that. We should have chairs and seats outside where classrooms can go outside. Look, when you use your hands, when you do performing arts outside or you draw outside, you build confidence. When you focus on your motor skills, these are the skills that light up children. And I guess I live with it because, the curriculum that my wife has put together in family and consumer science, the kids dig holes, they plant flowers, they plant seeds, which then are used for our, for lunches and for soups. And I am all for embracing this incredible preserve that we live in and how we can make it part of our everyday for our students. And I believe we can do it because this is a place where, when ideas are set out, we can do it. And so I want to get the kids outside more for sure.
Thank you.
You
next-
said we could add on.
Rebuttal. You want to do a rebuttal?
I guess so. I
Okay.
feel like rebut myself, I guess, though, right? I'm not. I did just want to quickly note as well, constant concern around the fact that they only have 20 minutes for recess, and it's a very truncated time to get out there. And so maybe there would be an opportunity for us to really take a look at the schedule and encourage our administrators to see how more of that time can be built in. It's rushed for lunch, it's rushed for recess, and so could be an opportunity to explore new ways of making sure that both of those things are fulfilled in a way that really satisfies.
Thank you. Mr. McGrath, this question will start with you. Where do you stand on the school's current use of educational technology? Is it too much, too little, or just right?
Great question, and it's right in my wheelhouse. Um, as anybody may or may not know, I'm an educational technology specialist, so fantastic question.
Okay.
So, thank you. So it's very interesting when you try and figure out what is right for each children. So last week I did something working with the PTA where we talked about how parents can better look out for their children's well-being when it comes to using their cell phones and their devices at home. And it's a really important message in terms of not only how to block them or how to set up controls, but also what things to be aware of and conversations you may or may not want to have with your children. We always try to strengthen the fact that every family has their own values and we respect that. But at the same time, we want to make sure everybody's aware that there are some conversations and some things they may need to be aware of. One of the challenges with technology is it is everywhere. And fewer jobs do not require some level of technology proficiency. So it's very important that our students have that. However, it needs to be done in a balanced way. We need to nurture every single component of them, right? We need to nurture their bodies, and we don't just want them using just that one part of their brain. We want them to use their entire brain. So we talk about balance. We talk about ways that they can become proficient and they can use it to learn, but also big fan of using kinetics, getting them to build things, getting out in the classroom. So it really is a balanced approach. In terms of how much or how little we're doing in the classroom, it really varies classroom to classroom. And I think that's a very specific question. It's going to vary from classroom to classroom. I will say the younger the students, the less technology they should be using.
Thank you. Mr. Minton.
So this is a topic that I'm somewhat passionate about because it's really important. Technology moves forward at such a fast pace that we need our children to know how to use it as a tool. But where I'm passionate is that it can't replace some of the base skills that they need. So in terms of math, we can't just say, oh, they have calculators and computers, so they don't need to focus as much on math. They should focus on using calculators and computers. Same thing with word processors. I mean, I see college students come and interview at my firm and their grammar is poor, their spelling is poor. And it's because a lot of the schools before that they were in let them use word processors. And some of the kids come, and I work in finance, they don't know some basic math, but it's because they lean too heavily on these tools. And I think it's incredibly important that we teach the children how to use the tools, but also focus on the underlying skills because they can't have one without the other.
Thank you. Mr. Graves.
Thank you. Look, I agree with everything that's been said at this table, and I'm sure I'll agree with what Elena says. I mean, look, technology, AI, it's here. We can't ignore it. We need to help students understand it. Our role is to help our students understand it and use it responsibly. We need to teach ethics, critical thinking, responsibility, because when you have a powerful tool, you need to have wisdom around it. And I'll consider all technology powerful tools. So we need to put that wisdom and responsibility around it. We need to make sure our students are smart, safe, and thoughtful with these tools that are not going away by any means. And we need to find a balance for their ability to be creative, their ability to speak and have empathy with their fellow students and their teachers. So I don't think it's something we have to embrace, but we can't just push it aside for sure.
Thank you. Ms. Riley.
Thank you. I definitely feel passionate as well around this topic. I work at Consumer Reports. We're a nonprofit, and I work in digital marketing. So day to day, we talk about safety, and many people don't realize that we have a large focus on digital privacy. And so I think a lot of it is around keeping kids safe. There are programs like Common Sense Media, another nonprofit that we could bring in, has a specific education framework, which we used to use. I haven't seen it around a bit, to help people, kids and families. I think it has to be both at home and in school. But particularly in the classroom, I am less afraid that the kids need to learn these programs because I know they're going to learn them at some point. Personally, I feel that we should partner with people like Dr. Nate Toma as well. And he's talked about an ed tech triangle where we can evaluate the different tools we currently use. And he's a member of our community. So apologies for not mentioning that before. But some of these tools like Cahoots and things like that are designed in the same way that slot machines are. Instant gratification, they get you addicted. And instead of learning, you're really just instant gratification. So I'd love for us to take the EdTech triangle, apply it to what we're talking about in our classrooms, and incorporate things that Marina Lombardo's been talking about actively, like, you know, study groups and hands-on, and really infuse that in every single classroom we can.
Thank you. We will start with Mr. Minton. Where do you stand on the issue of the bell-to-bell cell phone ban? And will you, as a board member, advocate for POCO adopting a wait until 8th approach to cell phones?
I'm not that familiar with the bell-to-bell.
What's in the wait to 8? What?
So can I expand?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so the governor is proposing a bell-to-bell phone ban starting September of 2025, which would mean that as soon as students enter the building, from the first bell to the last bell, that the students would not have the ability to access their cell phones.
I see. Yeah, no, I was familiar with the governor's proposal, and I didn't know bell-to-bell. Look, I, as Elena just mentioned, it's very addictive. And I think it's important for the children to be able to communicate with their family if necessary. But it's very easy for children to just start looking at their phone and going onto the internet or doing other things. So I'm certainly a proponent of children have to put those phones away when they're in classes. Now, whether they shouldn't have them in the hallway, I'm not so sure. I'd love to hear from other experts. I'd love to get the advice from Rich Calkins and Adam Brown. But I think certainly in the classroom, I would want the phones away. There's no reason for children to have their phones out when they're in the classroom. Again, should they put them away bell to bell? I'm not sure that's critical.
Thank you. Mr. Graves.
I'm not going to be popular for this answer, but I do not think cell phones are needed for our students in the school at all. They have the ability to reach out to their parents by going to the principal's office. Their parents have the ability to leave a message with the principal's office, and that message can be taken to that particular student. I think we have talked about how devices are addictive. So even if they're in their locker or in a pouch or whatever, they still crave to get towards that device, to get whatever they are receiving from some sort of messaging that they have to get to. So that leads to, I need to go to the bathroom, swinging by your locker potentially to look at your device, maybe hiding it in your pocket, maybe putting it in a bag somewhere. Look, I just don't think that our students need to bring those devices to school. I think we have plenty of abilities to get messages to our children, and I think our children have the ability to get messages to us. For generations and generations, students have been successful in communicating with their parents without these devices. And I think as a community that has a very unique perspective on educating our children, I think that we could do without having the cell phones enter our schools, and they can get them afterwards when they get home. But I'm for no cell phones in our school.
Thank you. Ms. Riley.
Thank you. I do believe that I would definitely support the Bell to Bell program. I think it makes a lot of sense. I feel children are, again, drawn to it. They will constantly want to think about it, but I do find it is required for them to have for after school activities. I think we have a school district where we have many working families, both family members are working, or we have single parents, or we have plenty of circumstances where at the end of the day, a child would need access to their phone so that their day could be coordinated. So I think bell to bell is very reasonable. I think there would be anytime that somebody needs it, they'd be able to access, and I would fully support it.
Thank you. Mr. McGrath.
Thank you. So I follow a lot of the governor's directives very closely, and I'll tell you, this conversation has been going on for a very long time. Having students not have their cell phones at Pocantico bell to well is an easy one because we stop at 8th grade. There is some conversation in other districts about, hey, when they go to college, they're going to have their cell phones. At what age do we show them responsible use in school? And so a lot of school districts are saying, really in high school, maybe bell to bell isn't a good idea. But for Pocantico, because our students are so young, to me, I think it makes a lot of sense. The other thing that you mentioned was the wait till 8. And anything that puts pressure on parents to make a decision, I'm opposed to. I think parents need to be educated. They need to know what the choices are, and they need to make the decision. I firmly believe that parents have the right to make the best decision for their child. Having said that, I do believe that parents need to have the information to make the correct decision. Now, one of the things that concerns me more than all of this is the Children's Online Protection Act, called COPA. COPA says that right now, up until the age of 13, parents have direct access to the child's device, and social media has to go through the parent. After 13, right now, a child is considered an adult from a social media point of view. That to me is a problem. COPA 2, which has been voted on by the Senate but not the House, would change that to 16. Australia has said that nobody can have social media until they're 16, and I think that is a step in the right direction. So I have strong concerns over social media, but in terms of giving parents access and giving them the child the device, I think that's a decision that every parent should make for themselves.
Thank you. Mr. Graves, we will start with you. In light of recent movements to scale back or eliminate diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in various institutions, how would you, as a board member, advocate for inclusive practices and ensure the district remains committed to equity and representation?
I mean, we as a people should be, as humans, ethnicity defines our humanity. The celebration of everything we are as humans is what life is all about. And I would not stand for anything other than that in the community that I live in and the school that I am part of. There is nothing more incredible than the celebration of who we all are as humans. So what would I do as a board member in regards to holding those positions true? I would jump in front of a bus to make sure that that was how our school and our community acted. There is no other way. There's not a fiber of my being who would stand for anything other than that. So yeah, I don't know what else to say other than it's deeply, deeply important to me.
Thank you. Ms. Riley.
Thank you. Yes, we are very fortunate in having a school district that we tout as the most diverse district in New York, which is a fantastic thing. What we do not necessarily do is have moments where we necessarily think about how we incorporate that in our every single day. Me personally, I would say we need to take more onus on making sure we're bringing our diverse community into our school more. I know we have family members who are eager to come and participate in all activities. We should be tapping into every single moment and encourage everybody to be inside these doors whenever possible. And of course, there's going to be limitations, but whenever possible, so we can infuse culture and learning acceptance. I know we see our PBIS efforts, the Hawks today. One of those statements is kindness and safety. We need to be incorporating these elements of acceptance and celebration into those moments as well. I think that would be a really great opportunity for us to infuse and have people learn about one another at a grander way. And I definitely think we need to look wider to the huge capacity of things that we have, visiting the city, learning more. I know what my daughter on the 8th grade trip was saying, how she's at the museum and taking in all these moments for the Museum of
Thank you. Mr. McGrath.
I know certain words and phrases come in and out of fashion, but it is a very American ideal that if you work hard, get an education, you can succeed in anything. And I'm a big believer in that. So in Pocantico, every child is given every opportunity to be successful. And that is the nature of Pocantico. So whether that means different students get different things, well, that's just good teaching, right? That's just, we're reaching people where they are. That's what we do here. So I'm always, and this is something that's so great about Pocantico, is we want every single student to feel valued, to feel important, to feel welcome. We want their families to feel welcome. We want every single family and every single child to come out of this wonderful school district and say, I had a great experience. And it really doesn't matter what they need. We need to provide it to give them that experience.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Minton.
So it's interesting. About 2 years ago, the board and administration set off to define what we call the portrait of a graduate. And we started with, I don't know, something like 30 or 40 concepts and ideas, and we whittled it down to 5 things that we thought were critically important. And it's above and beyond the curriculum and instruction. It's 5 things that are about character and culture in the children. And one of them was inclusive. So it was ethical, thinker, inclusive, communicator, financially literate were the 5 things we wanted to add to the New York State curriculum. And we've spent 2 years focusing on what it meant to this district for children to be inclusive and for the staff to be inclusive and for the community to be inclusive. And now we've handed it over to Rich Calkins and the staff to figure out, all right, how do we integrate this into the curriculum and instruction? So how do we take the concept of inclusive and put it into the curriculum and instruction? And I encourage everyone to look on the website because there's a presentation which has the work that we've spent 2 years on. And there's a page on inclusive. And that's what we've defined as the portrait, part of the portrait of a graduate.
Thank you. You want to do a rebuttal, Mr. Graves?
Well, I guess, I mean,
Okay.
rebuttal is such a strong statement. I just want to add, I think that, I think we do well as a school celebrating this. I mean, is there a more exciting evening than One World Pocantico Night? I mean, come on, what an incredible celebration of our children and their families. Look, I love my wife, but here's the deal. She has a program at this school in family and consumer science where she uses cooking as a way to celebrate our students, our children. Her program celebrates
Thank you, Mr. Graves.
their families and their food.
Ms. Riley, we will be starting with you. Okay. As a middle school parent, it is painfully obvious that the social emotional curriculum is too little, too late for kids in the middle school. I have a lot of criticism for how it's being implemented. So my question is, how can we and you as a board support this? Track its implementation in classrooms and improve upon emotionally responsive practices in the classroom?
That's a great question. I know, yes, I am a middle school parent, and I feel that pain often. And that is part of the motivation as why I am sitting here today, is I want to help and guide where I can ways for that to be different. And the only way I can really see it working is, I do think the budget adjustment, including an assistant principal, is a great move, something that's actually been suggested in the past, and I'm so happy that the board took a second look and was open-minded to include that. So thank you. I do not think it's going to be a magic fix all. So having an assistant principal is a great addition, but we need to continue to support our children in a larger scope. And, as far as bringing some of this PBIS work home where we need it so we can support it on both ends, I think that's where it can start. I know I've asked a couple of times, can we start bringing this home earlier in the year so that we can address these efforts from both ends. We can be part of it. And I think that's the other component. Parents, families are not always included in these conversations or aware. And so by leaving us out of the conversation, we can't triangulate and help work together to really find a solution and support them. I think they're looking for that. And this is a great opportunity for us.
Thank you. Mr. McGrath.
So social emotional well-being has been addressed at Pocantico in numerous ways, whether it's the addition of several healthcare workers. We have a wonderful service now where families need it. They can get mental health support right away until they can set something up. But we are nowhere near where we need to be. And that is actually why I'm running for the board again, because I think that work needs to be done. The fact of the matter is our students are in an emotional turmoil in ways that previous students never were. The world has changed and it is very difficult to grow up these days. So putting in more social emotional supports, one of the things that Pocantico was working towards is its restorative circles and building some of those things. It is a slow, methodical process. And I know for all of us on the parent side, we wish it could happen tomorrow. And unfortunately, it's going to take some time. That's where we're at. But that is an absolute need. Bringing an assistant principal to address some of that is just one of the things that we're doing. I feel very strongly, and I agree completely with what you said. We're not doing enough right now, and we need to do more, which is why there's additional attention on this. And quite frankly, there's more that we need to hear more from parents in terms of what they need, and the board needs to hear more from parents, specifically what we can do to support their needs.
Thank you. Mr. Minton.
I agree a lot with what Joe just said. It's a very important topic, and it's something that the board discusses a lot. We're constantly trying to get feedback from Rich Calkins on how things are going. And Joe's right, we've funded a lot in the budget to support this. Student support services are very important. But again, we need people to communicate if they think things aren't working out well. Because we're constantly at the board table saying, what can we do? What are people looking for? It goes back to my earlier comment, which is that we communicate a lot out, but we really need to seek information. So if this is a concern that the board is not hearing as much of, then we need to find out more information. Maybe those open forums we talked about would help us, because we need to find out exactly what the concerns are that aren't being addressed by adding student support services and the middle school principal.
Thank you. Mr. Graves.
The way I look at this is sort of in a way of teaching certain philosophies, and that can go through a family and through children, but we need to teach empathy as leadership. You know, we need to listen with care and respect. I think that we also have to teach curiosity and the freedom to explore new ideas. And I think we have to teach long-term impact. You know, I think our kids go for quick wins these days. And, you know, and we also need to find a way to embrace failure, learn from that failure. And I think if we can create support like that, I think it's going to help all of us with social and emotional well-being. I want our kids and our families to always have sort of live in a world of like a growth mindset culture. You know, I think that we should celebrate the effort and the resilience we put into things. And I believe if we create some sort of flow with that, it will help our social and emotional well-being overall.
Thank you. Mr. McGrath, we will start with you. Parents have expressed interest in being invited into school more often to build a stronger partnership between home and school. Do you support this, and how do you see this coming to fruition?
So parental involvement and student success go hand in hand. This has been documented so many times. The research strongly supports the more involved the parent is with the child's education, in general terms, the higher achieving the student is. So how do we facilitate that? And every family has different needs, and every family has different levels that they can participate in. But within those frameworks, we can have parents come in to volunteer. And I guess honestly, to help parents participate more, we want to talk to parents and hear what they want to do. Because while we could come up with a bunch of different solutions and a bunch of different ideas, honestly, I feel very strongly that parents already know where they want to be involved. The school, should they be welcome to the school? Absolutely. Should there be a process for it? Absolutely. Is there a way where parents can, what is it that they feel that they can make the strongest contribution both to the class and also for their specific child? I think we need to hear from the parents, but absolutely, that is the cornerstone of good education, is having the parents know that they are part of the Pocantico family.
Thank you. Mr. Minton.
Thank you. I agree with Joe. I think it's very important to have parental and family involvement in the school. What I would do generally when something like this came up at the board table is I would ask Rich and Adam Brown to speak through how can we do this in a very constructive manner? How can we do it so it doesn't in any way disrupt the flow in the building? How do we do this so it's secure? Because if you're opening the doors and letting a lot of community members in, you have to maintain security and it can't be a disruption. So the question is how to do it in a very constructive way. And I think it's a great way to build community in this building. I mean, this building is a big part of the community itself. So I think it's a great idea. I would just want to turn to the administration to figure out how best to implement it. But I'd be
Thank you.
supportive. Yeah.
Mr. Graves.
My stance on this, I talked about it earlier. Coffee is the key to many. And I think we can go back to what Charlie mentioned. Can that table be open once a month where community gathers here? I also believe there should be the opportunity for a parent to witness a child's classroom. Is there a specific day on a specific month where they can sit in the back and see the magic take place firsthand? But as Charlie mentioned, Joe mentioned, and Elena will mention, this is an incredible place of community. We should be able to be here often. But I understand we cannot interrupt the kids' school days. We can't interrupt the teachers' flow. So we have to find a way to make it happen. But that's what this is all about. We need to get together. We need to talk about it. We need to talk to administrators and figure where we can pop in and make it happen. Because I think all parents should be able to witness the magic of their children and the teachers that are making an impact on their life. But we also need to hear the concerns of the community. I think it can be done right here with some coffee and every other week or every month or something like that.
Thank you. Mr. Minton, we will start with you. Oh, second time. And this never happens to me. I must be nervous. Please forgive me.
Mechanical,
Stumbled over the word, everything just
Right.
that was.
I think it threw me.
That's the best.
Okay, go ahead.
Just bringing parents back into the school and community. I totally feel that this is something we can do and do well. And I have certainly learned over time that there are reasons for safety and things like that I hadn't been aware of, why we have to monitor in a different way. But I do think that we can work with the administration to find a great balance. There's ways to incorporate volunteers. People have offered to say they will help with, keeping an eye during recess so that others will have a break, or just not enough people to really monitor to make sure kids are being safe out there or not being hurtful and being kind on a daily basis. There's so many things to leverage. Just the staff, faculty, so on and so forth. Everybody doesn't have to do it alone. We're here. We want to partner, and we are, families are a resource. We're all in it together. Middle school gets a little trickier, but things like National Honor Society celebrations. I don't believe we actively have National Honor Society. I think that would be a great way to incorporate parents coming, celebrating. They would feel really good, have something to work towards and be motivated. I know things like trips. When we go on trips, if we have a class, a family member attend as well, that would actually solve two things that I know that people are eager for the kids in the school. So lots of great ways to do it. Of course, mindful of limitations because safety always comes first. But it would be great if maybe a quarterly option were there.
Thank you. Mr. Minton. Poco's small size is a big part of its appeal. but some grades are much larger than others. Would you support capping class sizes in the more populated grades? Alternatively, what is your feeling on growing enrollment in the smaller size grades?
I think this is a great topic, and this is one where the community has communicated with the board and the administration that they're concerned about the class sizes. Larger sizes, I think, is easier. I know when my twins were in fourth grade, there were 50 children, and they added a teacher and they made it into 3 sections. So I think it's a little easier, or you can just put it into one large classroom, have 3 teachers in one large classroom. It depends on the teachers and what the principal and superintendent want to do. Larger class sizes is easier to handle. I think small class sizes is difficult. And it's not an easy problem to solve. There are a lot of unintended consequences if you were to take enrollment. I'm very open to it, and I'm interested in having the discussion at the board table, but it's not as easy as just, oh, we'll just take some children in, because what happens if you take children in and then all of a sudden families move in and now you've got 30 kids in the grade? Or the laws for children who are here on a contract basis versus residents are different. So it's just important that we know all those facts and understand all the unintended consequences. But I'm very open to the discussion, and we've been having it over the last few meetings.
Thank you. Mr. Graves?
I'd like to keep classrooms small. I think that's one of the magical parts of this community. If we keep classrooms small and we have more people that have moved into the district, then I think we just get another teacher. I don't mean to make it sound, oh, easy, get another teacher, but I think that this school, I know that this school has the resources to bring in another teacher and keep the small essence in our classrooms. I think that our kids learn at a much greater level with that sort of attention. I think that, we can add another teacher. I know that we are limited maybe by space a little bit, but this school has proven to find a way to always make things happen. I think that this is something that we will have to adapt to. If we have a smaller classroom, great, good. That is you're lucky to have a smaller classroom because your child gets that sort of attention. If you have a bigger classroom, I do think that there potentially could be a number to cap, but if we can just get another teacher to fulfill what we did during COVID. We were able to make smaller classrooms, use other places in this school, and I think keeping smaller classrooms is what our community is very lucky to have, for sure.
Thank you. Ms. Riley?
Sure thing. Yes. I had not actually considered, the concept of capping larger grades. I think splitting them is probably a great idea. If you hit a capacity and we maybe say, hey, make it 3 if you had 50 or something like that. That would be a great policy suggestion to say for class management, when you're trying to teach and, there's too many kids in the class. But I also went to school in Yonkers when I was a kid and we had 600 kids in a grade. So I know that's something we can tackle and figure out and really work together to sort. And again, maybe it's not necessarily the size. Maybe there's other tools we need to work on with our staff and our faculty to really figure out what's that secret sauce of a size and how we can support it if we do have a larger grade. So for the smaller grades, it's hard. I've seen, actually having a larger grade as they progress is great for a social aspect. I would say for the smaller grades today, finding other ways to cross-pollinate programs with our area schools would really help. While we might be small in the rooms here, if we looked at external programs where we can try to, for social and for other things, expand and take advantage of, it would be wonderful if we could explore that. I think that would be a great suggestion. Really, I want to focus on retention, keep the people here whom are here and not give more reasons. We do have an influx of people who are having kids go to other schools. And I think that's something we could tackle as well.
Thank you. Mr. McGrath?
Thank you. So Pocantico has historically enjoyed smaller class sizes, which is great. Somewhere between 16 and 20 is sort of the ideal perfect size. If you have too many students, you have a loss of learning, you have students who are doing things unsupervised. We do have very often in most of the classes have a teaching assistant, which helps a lot. And again, we want to make sure that our students are well supervised, not just for instructional, but also for behavioral issues. And that's really important, not just in the classroom, but in the lunchroom and on the playground, et cetera. When we get to a place where you have too small a class size, there's sort of this sapping of energy that's really necessary for a good dynamic classroom. So looking at our enrollment is something that we always do. And if we start to see that enrollments are going too far down, we're going to have to consider multitude of options because you really don't want to have too small a class size. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but when you think about what a dynamic classroom looks like, you do want to have a certain number of students to keep that going. And like I said, adding adults to the room and keeping the class size right around 20 or below, 16 to 20 seems to be the ideal sweet spot. So very much in favor of those things. But like I said, one of the things, it's not just about the academics, it's also about the behavior and monitoring what's happening. We talked before about some of the social emotions our kids are having. Some of those things are from their peers, and we need to make sure that we have enough adult supervision so that when there is something happening, somebody catches it and puts a stop to it right away. Thank you.
Thank you. You want to rebuttal?
Yeah, no, not a rebuttal. I want to just add.
Yeah.
It's under.
We don't like that word, by the way.
Yeah, we don't like that.
Let's change it to addition.
Yeah.
That's better.
Right.
One of the issues I understand is that there's a class with maybe 14 children and 4 of them are boys and 10 of them are girls. And that can be, 14 might be fine, but 4 boys in a grade is very difficult. So I completely get it. And so the board has been discussing this at the last few board meetings, and I think we need to figure this out and figure out what are the implications of taking in tuition paying students. The one thing I just quickly say is that, we'll go, I'm gonna stop.
Thank
I
you.
just want to, Elena,
Go for
please.
it. Okay.
No, I just think that,
So
we,
Mr. Graves, this is your second. No, you can go.
You get
what?
2
You get
in
two.
the
You get
debate.
2.
Oh, I get 2. Wow,
2
fantastic. No,
rebuttals.
oh, wow. Oh, in my whole time here. Elena, I'm going to yield to you.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
this is my second. I'm gonna use my chip because I know
Okay.
this is a big one. This is what I'm also quite passionate about. So do I go? I don't wanna. Yeah, okay. Again, to your point about bringing in other children, I just want to reiterate the focus on really understanding why maybe children are going to other districts, living here, but looking, I know that some are very personal reasons, but I think it's really important to address those reasons before we start, taking in children from other districts as well, if that's something we're taking a look at.
Thank you.
Can I use my second one?
Yes, Mr. Minton.
Oh, we are.
The one thing I wanted to add was that I've encouraged the district to do a demographic study, which we haven't done in a long time. At Pocantico, because the taxes are very low, people tend to stay in their houses a very long time. And my guess is that there's going to be some turnover at some point, and we're going to get an influx of younger families, and the district is going to grow back. Because we're probably 50 to 75 children lower than we've been 15 years ago. So I think that's going to happen.
Thank you. Do we have more questions? Okay, perfect. This was. Okay, if we have time. Okay, perfect. All righty. So we are starting with Mr. Graves. There have been many anecdotal reports among parents of kids who have gone on to high school at our sister schools that POCO kids are less prepared than the other kids for high school, particularly in Spanish and math. This card had French. These reports go back years. We as parents have not been given access to data on how our POCO kids perform at their high school relatives. I'm sorry, relative to the other kids. I'm going to reread that. We as parents have not been given access to data on how our POCO kids perform at high schools in comparison to other kids.
Sure.
And then I don't know if you want to read them or just have them respond to it.
You can mention it or pop it in or whatever, for sure. Just want to, if was it
So-
within the same question?
Okay, I did.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna leave it there.
Okay, great.
Okay.
I mean, look, I can speak from experience here. Let's talk. Well, here's first and foremost, I think that we should get that data. You know, I guess from a board perspective, and I can ask Joe and Charlie this, but we should be able to get reports from Briarcliff, Pleasantville, Sleepy, and any of the private schools that our kids go off to see how they are performing. I think that that's data that can come from let's call it an administrative level, and we can ask those schools if they say no. Maybe there's some, you know, I think that there's probably some something that they can't. Maybe they can't share. Maybe there's privacy policies that prevent that. But I think we could get some sort of data set. So I'd like to ask her that right off the bat. What I can tell you about my own children, my children were involved in French here at Pocantico, and they are excelling in French at Clover's excelling in French at her school. Marnie is accelerating. And both of them have come out of Pocantico, Marnie and Clover, with a very high math background. So our math program is very strong. I had heard inklings, even though I wasn't part of it, but our Spanish program in years past was not strong. And I say that respectfully, but we have made our Spanish program much stronger now. So I think when we hear about something where we are deficient, we try to pick up, and I think that our kids are going off and doing great things. So, but I
Thank
would
you.
like that data
Thank
for
you, Mr.
sure.
Graves. Ms. Riley.
Yep. So if we don't currently have access to the data, we should. I know that there have been questions around being able to get it. If we can't be delivered it, we have no reason we can't reach out and ask. People can inform us directly, first party data. So I think those are things that would be a fantastic addition. I know I personally have felt it in the Spanish program in the past. I personally started Spanish here, and I went on to become a minor in college. I use Spanish weekly, if not daily, in my life. It's a skill, and it's a topic that I've spoken with Rich and with all the language teachers about. I'm happy to report this morning my kindergartner was singing the days of the week in Spanish, but my other children were taking French because I was not confident with the amount they've learned. I've heard numerous stories about children being placed in Spanish 1 or you know, going to 2 and struggling. That shouldn't be the way it should go. We should really stop, pause, reevaluate, take a temperature check. Is having foreign language from now JPK, not just pre-K, all the way through 8th grade, the way we should approach it? Want to open up that question and then identify ways to really fine tune, report out, and assess the data so we can reevaluate what should be the right fit for results for those further grades when we go into, and math as well. I know there's been improvements, but it's a great opportunity.
Thank you. Mr. McGrath.
Thank you. So I can tell you that I've also heard these anecdotal reports. I've spoken to children who have gone to different high schools, and I've asked them specifically, did Pocantico do a good job for you? I can also tell you that the board has directed the superintendent to do the survey to ask these students exactly this question. Did we do a good job? So we're waiting for those results to come back because we should know, are we doing a good job? I can also tell you that we have always pursued the highest standards for our students. And when there is a concern, it's been raised very often in exec, right? Which means that we can't talk about it publicly. But I can tell you without really going into it, these matters have been looked at, they've been addressed. And you said historic. I have not heard that about this year's graduating class. And I do think that things have changed. And I looked at the most recent test results in terms of how our kids did, and they were amazing. If you look at how they did in the last year, it's a very sharp difference from if you looked at 5 years ago.
Thank you. Mr. Minton, yes, Mr. Minton.
Thank you. So Joe's right. This is a topic that comes up periodically with the board, and we spend a lot of time discussing it. We do get a lot of data. It's difficult sometimes to look at it because of the small classes. So if you have 3 children at one school and you're getting a report back from Briarcliff, say, you have to be very careful because it might potentially identify the children. So sometimes it does come up in exec session because we can't speak about it publicly. What I've asked for a number of years, and we've started doing that, is to build a database year to year. Because if you look over, say, a 5-year span, then instead of, say, 30 children, you've got 150. And you have just more to work with, and it's less possible to identify children. In any case, going back to the language, I agree that if we're going to have language for, 8+ years, the children should at least place out of a year in high school. So I agree, we should be looking back and saying, why is that not happening if it's not? Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to use a rebuttal if I can.
Yes.
So just to add to what you said now, because I agree completely, everything, it's such a strong word, right? But to add to what you said, because one of the things that the board has done is they have established solid metrics for not only saying we're going to raise the bar, but also very specific metrics so that we can do a year-to-year measure, which we did not have in the past. So the board has looked at this and does feel very strongly that something needed to be done and has taken steps to do so, both in terms of action, but also in terms of measurement.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This will be the last question before the closing remarks. We will begin with Ms. Riley. How do you feel POCO does transitioning elementary students to the middle school?
I would say there is excitement. I do think as a parent, I felt a little confusing. I call it middle school light once they hit 5th grade, because I did some things they could do in middle school, sometimes they can't. So I call it middle school light. And because of that, there's an opportunity for clarity. I think we need to draw a line, I think I'm excited again for this addition of a assistant principal. I think that will help define it better. And that the accountability for an expectation for middle schoolers, again, if you start in pre-K and you've had the same realm of everything, it might be a little bit hard to adjust and grow and take it seriously as you continue on. Things like I mentioned before, National Honor Society, finding other ways to get incorporated, with science programs or art programs with some of the other schools could be a really great way to help transition as well, give the kids more opportunity to meet the students that they could potentially be going to school with, if only in a few more years, even changing the look, just making them feel like they're in middle school. I think those are just tiny things that really could help them and make them feel like they are growing up. There's no stepping up program. There's no anything like that to really say, hey, there's a difference here. And now things change a bit. So I think those are all opportunities for improvement.
Thank you. Mr. McGrath.
So it's a subtle change because the students are in the same building. They're seeing the same principal. They're seeing now they have a new assistant principal. So there'll be a new change where they'll have a new administrator where they can address and speak to. There isn't necessarily a stepping up ceremony, and that's really typical in K-8 schools. If there is a question is, do the students feel differently, and are there things that we can do to recognize that they're moving into 5th grade? I think that's a fair statement. There are things that we can absolutely do. And I've said this before, and I feel so strongly, it's really important that our students feel important. It's really important that they have that sense of, hey, I'm doing something here, and I'm proud of the work, and my parents are proud of the work, and my teachers are proud of the work. And so any ways that we can find to celebrate kids, I'm on favor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Minton.
So I actually wasn't aware of any concerns about the transition into middle school. And I'd be very interested to hear what the concerns are. I've always historically been concerned about the transition to high school. So in this building, it's impossible for the children to get lost. The staff and the administration are so incredibly caring and looking out for, you don't get lost in this building. And then all of a sudden you're going to effectively another district, Briarcliff, Pleasantville, or Tarrytown for a high school. And so I've always been very concerned that then all of a sudden it may not be the same feel there. You might be able to hide in the crowd, hide in the back of the classroom. Maybe nobody's looking out for you. So I've been much more concerned about preparing them for that transition. But I'd be interested if there are concerns about the transition to middle school.
Thank you. Mr. Graves.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. I can speak from experience. I feel like when Clover went from elementary school into the middle school, she was just going to the next grade. And I feel like at a school that is so small, and where obviously every child matters and their feelings matter. I think that we should create some goals. You know, there is the goal for the elementary school, and then there's the goal for, you know, and then there's the transition step into the middle school. I think that, you know, it would also be really neat to have the middle schoolers be mentors, student leaders as the transition takes place from elementary school to middle school. I think that we speak about this incredible bond that Pocantico people have. I would love to have like this sort of memory of she was my mentor, you know, as I transitioned into middle school. Having things like that, I think, build leadership and character in our students. But I also think it gives them something to get excited about. Like, who's my mentor going to be? How are they going to help me transition into middle school? You know, everything from like how we do our locker to what our classes are going to be like, introduction to teachers. So I think we should make a big deal about it for sure.
Thank you. That concludes the question portion. We shall prepare for the closing statements. Closing statements will be up to 90 seconds. We will go in the reverse order from the opening statement. We will begin with Mr. McGrath.
Thank you. So in a few days, the voters are going to have a decision in front of them. They can decide, hey, we have some great things happening. Our facilities have never looked better. Our test scores have never looked better. Our taxes have gone up by less than 0.4% every year for the last 6 years. I compare that to your neighbors. It's vastly different. That is governance. And I hope the voters look at that and say, you know what, there's some good things happening here. At the same time, we're always open, and don't assume the board knows everything that you need from us. So the board has always said, and I'm a very strong believer in this, and I know Charlie is as well, if there's a concern, write to the board, tell us. We want to hear if there's something systemically that we can do to make the district better. That's what we're here for. This is volunteer work, and we do it because we love the community and we care for every single person in it. Simple as that. So if you feel like, hey, there's some good stuff happening here, and I just want to take it to the next level, then I would say, you know, cast your vote accordingly.
Thank you. Ms. Riley.
Thank you, everyone, for your time and your consideration. It was great hearing some of these great ideas here tonight across the candidates, and I actually learned a whole lot of things, to be honest, that I wasn't quite aware of before. If this is the kind of information sharing, I really would cherish having the moment to not only learn and grow myself, but also bring that to our community at large. I think for myself, one of my big goals is to help inform and be that bridge where there's more communication and people feel open and comfortable coming to the meetings, because like you said, they don't realize at the board level that there's issues until things are coming forward. So this is a great opportunity. I know I've built a lot of relationships amongst family, staff, and administration, and I really would take that even further in this position, you know, from graduating from not graduating, from shifting from, you know, the role of a middle school parent onto, well, I guess it's graduating, to a high school parent, as well as, you know, following along with all of my children throughout the years. There is not a moment that I wouldn't want to dedicate to helping all students feel heard and seen, and really enriching that experience further, and mostly keeping people here with us, so that, you know, that middle school pinpoint isn't a deterrent, but actually an opportunity.
Thank you. Mr. Graves.
Great. Well, first and foremost, thanks everybody for having us, and this has been incredible. So thank you. I want us to remember that, or think about how magical Pocantico is. How lucky are we? We are some of the luckiest people around. You know, we have this amazing school with amazing programs, and we open doors to growth, creativity, and connection. That's what Pocantico does. And that's the reason why I want to be on the board. I want to be involved. And, you know, my involvement isn't just something that I say. It's something that I've done since we've been part of this community. I helped spearhead those tennis courts that are up there. I've built sets for our theatrical programs. My wife is a teacher here. I'm heavily involved in our community adult programming. I've taken Excel classes, and what started with an idea with pickleball has really turned into like a community movement. And I want to be part of that. And that's why I want to be on the board. I want to listen to our community, and I want to be able to be a voice for them. So thank you for this.
Thank you. Mr. Minton.
Thank you very much. For the past 6 years, the district has grown in a very positive way. You can look at the curriculum and instruction, buildings and grounds, security, student support, and culture. By any metric, the school has made significant progress. Certainly, this has a lot to do with the administration and staff. However, it also has to do with the collaborative administration and board governance team. If you include Adam Brown and Christy Paracelli, this has largely been the same 9 people for 6 years. And I have no doubt that every candidate at this table will do excellent work. There is, however, a value to continuity, a value to keeping our foot on the gas in a very positive direction. I wanted to say that, so what I bring to the table is I really like solving problems. I don't have an educational background other than, being a student. But I love to solve problems. So if the community is passionate about something, I want to figure out how to make it happen. If the teachers are passionate, I want to make it happen. Our favorite meeting of the year is in January, when the teachers come and present their ideas and what they want. And then we turn to Rich and Mike and say, get it in the budget. And as Drew said, we've done that and kept taxes incredibly low. So that's why I'm here. And I'm very passionate, as you can see, about the school and the district. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's say thank you and give a round of applause to all of the candidates. We got thankful to all the candidates and the audience. A reminder that this forum was videotaped and will be available on the Pocantico Hill School District website and the LWB League of Women Voters Rivertowns webpage and YouTube channel. Remember, democracy is not a spectator sport. I encourage everyone to vote for the budget on the election on Tuesday, May 20th, 2025. Thank you again. Have a wonderful evening. The forum is closed.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, that was fun. Thank you so
Nice
much.
job, everybody.
Thank you. That was so much fun.
Great place. Come.
Thank you for that. That was so nice. Thank you.
Yes.
Fantastic.